Okay, and away we go. So coming to sit any way that feels right to you. You can cozy some things underneath you if you want them. You can put some things around you, over you, whatever feels good. Maybe tonight, if you wanted to, if you have anything like a sandbag, or even if you have extra pillows that you might use at any point to kind of weight yourself down, that could be nice. Breathing, what we're going to do is take the hands. We're going to do a little bit of hand choreography. I'll show you first, and then we'll do it together. So it's inhale, the hands are going to float out. Exhale, they come all the way together. And then inhale, they're going to make a lotus mudra. So middle three fingers of each hand open. And then exhale, it closes, points down, turns in upon itself. We've done this before, and opens back into the lotus, right? So whenever, I'm going to keep going and I'll instruct it a bit, and just jump in whenever you feel ready. It's inhale, and you don't have to match my breath. You go with your own breath. And exhale. When the hands come together, it's inhale into the lotus flower. And when you're ready to exhale, you try to match your whole exhale with this turning and inverting of the hands. And it'll just keep going like that, and just trying to match your breathing with your movements, kind of putting yourself perhaps in a trance. We're talking in teacher training on Sunday about how important it is, these trance states, and how lucky we are to have yoga and meditation and breathing and these practices that, way back when, a lot of indigenous cultures, they all had rituals, and this idea of trance, it's just threaded into the culture. It was part of us, and we've forgotten it. So let's bring it back. Take 2 or 3 more rounds. You can finish whatever cycle that you're on. You don't have to rush at all. When you're finished, you can let your hands rest, and we're going to start on our backs today in a twist. We're going to begin where we sometimes end. We're going backwards today. So you can take the twist. I was enjoying it today, crossing my legs, one leg really snuggled over the other, legs dropping to the opposite side of the top leg, and then a little dig with the elbows into the ground to move your rib cage back so your spine has lots of breathing room. And this is where a block or a pillow could be really nice underneath your knees. Right, if you want to bring the floor up to you, and you can always do this with your knees stacked too. You don't have to wrap your knees. This was just a suggestion. I always offer kind of what feels good to me, and then you can take that and run with it and really adapt the practice to fit you just right. And so finding your twist, and we're going to simmer in it for about 3 minutes. And my thought tonight was that we would really try to just hit all the sweet spots. And the sweet spots of the spine, the hips, the shoulders, neck, even the wrists, hands, toes, and ankles. Just really giving the whole body a good squish and squeeze and pull and twist, hydrating all the tissues. So settle in. Once you find your twist, take your time with it. Settle in and allow your spine to relax here. Can you let your spine really have permission? Give your spine permission to let go. Yeah, all day our spine is doing the hard work of holding us up all day long. We give it, or we depend on it all the time. So giving it permission to relax and release is really huge. Thinking a lot about compost. And
okay, bring that around.
How do I bring that around to yoga? That you know, so much of our lives often turns into compost, right? That we then stir and use to create what comes next. And thinking about this yin practice, like imagining my body becoming compost, like the leaves falling on the ground at the end of the fall. Right? And then the snow comes and covers everything, and underneath the snow, everything beginning to decay and unravel and fall apart and become compost, become part of the earth again. And then in the spring, when everything wakes up, all that compost is what helps bring new life, right? So something has to die for something new to be born. So feel the weight of your bones. Imagine your bones separating from each other, that in those spaces there can be room for breath, for water, for movement, for flow. I even saw this image once. It was a series of images taken by a nature photographer, and it was an animal, like a deer, some kind of deer-like animal that had died in a field. And the photos were taken from above, and it was over time as each part of the animal became the earth. And little by little, first the skin. So can your skin become the earth? Right? The soft parts, the skin and the blood and all the soft tissues of the body go first. And then the tougher parts, the joints, right? The ligaments, ligaments and tendons. Can they become compost? And then finally the bones. It takes a long time, but it happens. And then bringing it back, As you bring it back now, just being curious, listening with your skin, listening with your bones, listening with your blood. As you come onto your back, if that's where it feels right to go, you've got a little time here to just wash that off. You might be still, you might move a bit. Yeah, you could windshield wiper your knees, you could take a big stretch, or you could just plop right out on the ground and let yourself feel what you feel. Let your mind listen to your body here instead of the other way around. And nothing fancy. We're going to go right over to the other side. But if you need a little more time to simmer and this in between, you can take your time. And when you're ready, you can move your prop over if you had one and take your knees over to the other side. And once you find your shape, and take as long as you need, you can shuffle around and snuggle in. If you want to dig your elbows in again to give your rib cage a little scooch back an inch or so, whatever it is, and then feeling your spine really claim its length. And then giving it that permission again to release all the muscles that travel up and down alongside your spine that hold you up all day long. Give those permission to release too. And where else? Where else for you? It's a very personal practice, this yin practice. It's really about you finding your own sweet spots and your own places that need permission to let go. So just do a little meander all around your landscape, outside, inside. And look for what's been in a perpetual on position that doesn't need to be. Look for what's tense that maybe served you at some point, and right now it doesn't need to be tense. Just let muscle loosen off bone. Let your whole body start to become compost. I have a student here, by the way. You also, if you hear somebody talking, not a student, just a friend. Just so we got some little peanut gallery over here making comments. Yeah. Good. Do you want the block under you? No, actually. Yeah. That's okay. It might in a minute. You might follow your breath to the end, as you breathe in and out here, become interested in the bottom of your exhale. Kind of a magical place. And if you become really interested in it, and if you stay with it a few times, and sometimes it starts to reveal secrets to you. from the skin to the bones, releasing first the soft skin, the soft tissues of the body, moving in the direction of the earth. And imagine all the ropey tendons and ligaments evaporating, becoming soil. And finally, your bones. Let your bones sink into the ground and become earth. The earth of you become the earth underneath you. And if you want to stay, if you want to investigate anymore, you can stay here, linger, marinate. Otherwise, you can start to come back. Slow motion, move like molasses. And when you come back, same as before, you can rest, you can move. Try to stay in the yin frame of mind. Right? I know it's so easy in the in-betweens to kind of become more yang, to speed up. But stay with it, stay the course here. And then we are going to come up to sit next. And so you got time. Maybe your head could kind of be like water and be the last thing to come up as you make your way to a simple seat. I'll give you some options actually. So, and I'll show you, you got time. You don't have to rush to get up at all. I'm just going to talk. So a simple cross-legged seat could work, or I was enjoying this with shoelace legs. So snuggling them kind of like we did just now in the twist, tucking one knee over. So that's one option, but if you want to keep it a little softer, stay with a simple cross-legged seat. And we're going to go a couple of times over to each side. So one arm, doesn't matter which arm, you're going to put one hand down to the side of you. The other arm's going to come up into a side bend. So a little bit of movement here, but trying to keep it really soft and gentle. So you can play with the breath here. I was playing with both ways today. That I was inhaling, reaching into the side bend, and then making a cactus arm with that top arm and trying to pull the elbow back and down and give that shoulder blade a squeeze, and then back up and over. And so you could inhale, reach, and exhale, squeeze. Or it could be also nice to do the opposite. Exhaling, reaching, and as you squeeze, you breathe in. And so you could try each way. See how it feels. You can go slower if you want to go slower. I don't recommend much faster, but slower I always recommend. T.S. Little, great teacher, always says, turn your speed dial down. You know, if you're at a 10 all day, where are you now? Can you turn it down to a 7 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? And then, so to transition to the other side here, we're going to keep the legs the same. Take your arm over in that side bend, and then just start to pour and melt down towards that knee or wherever towards that side if you're in the shoelaces. And we're going to kind of just drag the body over and across, stay low to the ground to swim over to the other side. And then same thing on the other side. We haven't changed the legs yet. We're still with the same legs, reaching, side bend, and then cactus. Let's do that a few times on this side. And feel free, you know, moving your neck can be nice. Your gaze, always nice to look around your space and just notice something lovely, or just be grateful that you're in a cozy, warm house, and the roof over your head, and a refrigerator, and a bathroom down the hall. You know, simple things, but really not so simple, actually. I'm really lucky. One more time, And then we'll go over to the same side. We'll take the side bend one last time and melt down towards the floor on the side and take it for a walk through center. And wherever you land in the center, we're going to stay there for a bit. So if you're in cross-legged, you can stay. If you're in shoelaces, you can stay. Then if you want to gather any props underneath you, if you want to block for your hands or elbows, you could do that. So use props to help make this practice sustainable and joyful for you. Playful, perhaps. Props can make it playful. As you breathe in, can you feel the breath in your heart? And as you breathe out, can you feel it in your pelvis? And you let the out breath soften your lower body from the navel all the way down to the toes. With each out breath, your lower body becomes softer and heavier. How's your jaw here? Could there be a little more space in your mouth, in your upper palate? Could that soften? Cheeks, teeth, tongue. Imagine breathing into the back of your neck, armpits. Took a class on Saturday and the teacher said something I say all the time and I've never heard any other teachers say. I'm really into armpits. I was like, yeah, there's another one of us. Can your armpits be really spacious, full of breath, like oceans? Come on up, start to crawl your way back. And you can windshield wiper a bit. We'll do the same thing on the other side in a moment, but at first, just a swipe back and forth of the knees. And this is a suggestion. You can do something else if it's calling to you. This might feel nice. And when you feel ready, go to the other side of the legs. And so whichever leg you had in front or on top, you switch it. And then same thing. So whichever side you started on, like I reached my left arm out first. Now I'm going to reach my right arm out. So if you remember, and if not, it really doesn't matter. Taking that same big side bend stretch and then squeeze cactus arm, elbow down and back. You can spin your chest open a little bit more. A few times. And down that speed dial even a little bit more. And follow your breath all the way to the end of the exhale. I don't know if I've ever told you all the story of Pangu. It's the Chinese creation myth. Take one more like this, and then you'll land in the side bend. The side bend kind of pours down and melts over into a forward bend that you can sweep around to the other side. And do the same thing, other side, stretch and squeeze. And imagine, like really, when you put your mind inside your incredible body. And imagine all the fibers. It's like your fascia looks like the most amazing net of spider webs, all soft, and there's little droplets of water and hyaluronic acid and all these beautiful things streaming down the lines of fascia. So imagine those all stretching and pulling these beautiful soft webs opening inside your body, and then squeezing. And when you squeeze and then release, all the water rushes back into that spot. Oh, amazing. One more time. We'll circle it all the way down into the front, center, fold. So gather your props if you want them and fold over your shoelace legs or your cross legs. And I'm going to tell you a story. It's a little story, and but it's just thinking about compost, and it really feels appropriate. So in the beginning, there was nothing. There was just formless nothingness. And somehow in the middle of this nothingness formed an egg. And inside of this egg was everything that is and everything that isn't. And this egg just floated in nothingness for 18,000 years. And after 18,000 years, somehow this egg created a man. His name was Pangu. So inside of this egg grew this giant. He was a giant, fur covered, actually not a man, he's a fur covered giant. So inside this egg also, yin and yang began to grow. So you've got this egg floating in nothingness, and inside it is everything that is and everything that isn't. It's all yin and yang. And there's a great big giant. And the giant lives in the egg for 18,000 years. And then finally he gets too big and he thinks, I got to get out of this egg. So he grabs his axe. He happens to have an axe in the egg. And he smashes the egg in half with his axe. And when the egg cracks, the white part floats up and becomes the sky. Right? That's the yang, and the yolk, the heavy part, falls and becomes the earth. That's the yin. You can go ahead and come on up. I'll finish the story in a moment. But come on up and do your windshield wiper, however you want to release from that one. Take a break. Windshield wipe back and forth, or maybe you just want to sit. That could be nice too. Let the body talk to you. So we're going to come onto all fours next and just do a little wrist movement in cat-cow. So when you feel like you're ready, you can come onto your paws and your shins, and you can do some simple cat-cows on hands and knees, and then adding in any other movement of your spine, hips, shoulders, head, that feels like what you need. And I really do encourage you, I just now notice like, oh, this is exactly what I do every time I get onto hands and knees. So a little bit of yin cross training, yoga cross training. And I don't mean like go get a barbell. I mean, just do something different. Right? Don't do it the way you always do it. Can you just get out of that groove and make a new pathway anywhere, somewhere, anywhere in your body? Yeah. And you can play with your hands here, thinking about really giving the wrists some nourishment. We'll move on to the feet in a moment, but starting with the hands, you could turn them out to the sides, do any kind of movement around the wrist, or keep doing cat-cows. I like to circle around the wrist sometimes. You can put your hands, if you have the mobility to turn them back towards your knees, you could. You definitely don't have to. You could keep them out to the sides. You can also bring your back wrist onto the ground, flipping over, so the back of your hand, one at a time, I suggest. It's a little much to do both. You can do the back of the wrist, circle around it a bit. So nourish your wrists and your hands here. What's even nice is to come onto the back of your hand and point the fingers towards the midline. They're pointing in, and then you can use your knee and your leg to press on your hand and just compress. You get this great right in the center of the palm. It feels nice. You can do the fingers all the way down to your fingertips. Give them a squish. Even if you can get your forearm down, you can do your whole forearm. I learned this from a handstand troupe. They use their hands and wrists so much, and this was how they nourish themselves after performing handstands all day. So any amount of moving around, moving all the pieces. And then eventually where we're coming, I'm going to show you, and you can keep on moving if you like, or you can stop and watch. I'm going to tuck one set of toes under, and you might want to have a block nearby. And if you don't have a block, pillow or whatever, and we can also do it with nothing. So you can have your block ready, maybe I was doing on its medium side today to sit on, and I'm going to take the other leg and step it out. And so one set of toes is tucked under, the other leg is out. And what you could also do here is kind of come forward so that you're not sitting on your heel, and you can modulate, like the further back I go, the more I feel it, right, stretching underneath my toes and the ball of the foot. So you could sit all the way back if you like. Those of you who don't need a block, don't want a block, you could sit on your heel, which is a lot. You could try it and then decide, oh, I need a break. We're not going to be here for 5 minutes, I promise. But just giving the toes some love, underside of the foot, some love. And then after a handful of breaths, right? We're just here, a handful of breaths. We're going to take it into a dragon. So for dragon, you'll shift forward. And you can slide your back knee back. If you want a pad under it, you could stick a blanket under there. You can uncurl your toes now. Blocks are really friendly. Have a block under each hand if the floor feels like it's too far away, right? Or you can always put a bolster in front of you to lean on. That works too. Okay, so whatever it takes for you to be here, for you and your body that you got tonight to be in this shape, gather all the things and then begin to settle. And there's lots of variations. So again, I suggest doing it maybe the way you don't always do it. You can have hands inside your foot. You can walk around and take your hands anywhere in any direction, really. You can twist. If you want to turn onto the pinky toe edge of your front foot, you can really let your hips dip and twist towards your front knee. Lots of ways you can do it, right? Some of you might like to hold your back foot. Right? These are the dragons, and one of my teachers used to call that one the screaming dragon. You can be a screaming dragon if you want. Anywhere at all. We're going to be 2 more minutes here. So make sure it's doable, right? Because the body's very sensitive and smart. And if you overwhelm it, it's gonna contract. It's not gonna soften and open. So no overwhelm. I haven't forgotten about the story. We're getting there. I should tell you now to distract you from dragon, right? So Pangu, we're at the point where he splits the egg, right? And the yolk and the white part separate. And Pangu is really afraid that they're going to come back together again. And he doesn't want that. It feels so neat and clear with everything separated. And he's afraid of the chaos that could happen when everything gets all jumbled back together again. He doesn't want chaos. It terrifies him. And so he decides he's going to hold up the sky and keep it separate from the earth. He's got to do it. So for 18,000 more years, Pangu holds his arms up in the air and keeps pushing the sky away from the ground. And every year he grows 10 feet. And so every year the sky and the earth get farther and farther away. He does this for 18,000 years until he gets really tired. So y'all can come out now. That's enough dragoning. suggesting a child's pose as a rest here, but if there's anything along the way that you'd like, please do honor the longing of your body. Your body is the number one teacher here, not me. So Pengu starts to get really tired. He's like, I just can't keep doing it. Can't keep holding this guy up. And he looks down and he sees how much he's grown and how far away the ground is from the sky. And he thinks, okay, I think it's safe now. They're not going to come back together. I can let go and take a nap. And so he lays down and snuggles up in some grass and falls asleep, and he dies. And when he dies, and his last breath becomes the wind, and his eyes become the sun and the moon, and his bones become all of the earth's minerals. The hair on the body becomes the grass. His tears become the rain. Every part of him becomes something beautiful. And because it's a Chinese story, and they always want us to remember to be humble, the fleas on his body become the humans. Go ahead and come on up. We're going to take the other side of the toe stretch first. So as you find your way back to all fours, you can step one foot forward. Other toes are going to curl under. Lots of ways to get there. Any way you get there, really. If you want to have something to sit on underneath you, or you modulate just by shifting your body weight forward towards the front foot, and then little by little you can see how it feels to move towards the heel. Any amount of weight going down through that foot that works for you. Try to calm your whole body. Soothe yourself with your breathing. Let your skin get soft and quiet, your face soft and quiet. And then we'll come forward another breath or two if you want to linger, right? If this is good and interesting and fertile for you, you can stay. When you feel ready, it's dragon on the other side. So as you drag in, you gather your props, you decide where you want your hands, where you want your foot. Maybe do it just a little differently than you might have done it last time you did a dragon, if you've ever done a dragon. Let your bones get a little heavier. Feel the parts of you that touch the ground. Let them sink in. Yeah, you can twist, you can fold, lots of options here. And I know for myself in dragon, I can get fidgety in this one. You might find yourself feeling fidgety, and just stay the course, right? Just try to keep calming your body. One thing that helps me in a challenging shape like this is, I think, inhale, my inner body is getting really bright and shiny. And exhale, my outer body is getting really soft. Try to stay with what you feel. This is so valuable. Being able to face sensation without contracting, being able to face a situation without contracting. You can start to learn to really trust your body here. That's it. Just another few breaths. Follow the exhale all the way out to the very bottom. See if you can do that a few times in a row. Think about trying to find the center of the sensation. Where is it? What part is talking to you? What part of your body has become the most visible? And if you find it, when you find it, can you let that sensation, imagine it loosening and flowing through the whole body so that it's not stagnant, it's not permanent. Let it expand. One more moment. And then coming out, and you might come again to a child's pose or anything else. Anything else? What do you feel? Sometimes you feel a lot. Sometimes it's achy, isn't it? It can be achy and sore. I kind of feel like I won when that happens to me. Like, yeah. Because that's what we want. We want, and this is not restorative yoga. We want to know that we did something. There is some effect. So don't be afraid of the ache and the soreness if it happens. Okay, it's really important, actually, that that we are not afraid of sensation. Cool. Bring it around into actually, let's take a Sphinx. We haven't done much back bending. No, we have not. We need a back bend. So let's take a Sphinx here. And so many ways you could prop things under your elbows. I've been liking lately a bolster underneath the ribs and belly and just kind of letting it be supported like that. And then the hands are just resting in front. You can fold over it for a bit if you like, or it's also nice. Some of y'all know this one, but this is the favorite. The bolster over the forearms, and then your forehead can rest on it, or you just do it with nothing. You put anything under you, on top of you, next to you. And then we're coming back to be compost again, to be pangu, and let your bones become the earth's minerals. The sweat became all the rivers. Let your exhale become the mist. Your fur become the grass. Your spine become a waterfall. If you want to take it into a seal pose, you can. If you want more back bend, you might walk your hands a little further back and apart and turn your fingers out. Come into this quite big back bend. And you can always stay for a bit and then come back, or you might stay for the rest of the shape, which is just about a minute. We're just going to be here for one more minute or so. You decide if you like that or if you want to stay right where you were. Trying to continually touch the bottom of your exhale. Maybe put yourself in a little bit of a trance like that. Remember that we're not alone here. You know that the trees are breathing and the mushrooms are breathing and everything's turning into compost and it's all in the air around us, all the spores of the mushrooms, all of the oxygen created by the trees. So let that all sink in. Let your skin breathe in the mushrooms and the trees. As you exhale, become the mushrooms and the trees, the earth. We're no different. So you might come out of this one. This is another one where you might feel some ache, some soreness, and especially after a back bend, it's so great to remind yourself to not be afraid of that sensation. And so when you come out, you can come either to all fours, do a little more shake around in a cat and cow, or you can settle back into a child's pose or anything else. We've got one last forward fold sequence after this. So do take your time. Yep. Move slow, like a sloth. Let your skin breathe. Let your armpits and elbows and backs of your knees and between your toes and fingers breathe. Behind your earlobes. We're going to take a seat for the last two shapes. Could be one, could be two, depends on you and what you want. Thinking butterfly to start with. And butterfly might stay a butterfly, or a butterfly, go going backwards actually. Butterfly is going to turn into a caterpillar. Doesn't make nature sense, but it makes sense for our bodies to do that. So you can start with your legs in a diamond shape and your feet a good distance away from the pelvis. And then I always like to start by melting from the top down. If you like that, you can drop your chin and just start to roll yourself down. And any other way you like to come into it is fine. You can have blocks underneath your hands or your knees. Rounded spine is what we're going for here. Rounded spine, head dropped. And the head dropped, there's a lot of head dropped in yin, and that's often a lot if you're not used to dropping your head and having the weight of it hanging off your spine. So you can always prop up your head with anything if you want to. And so rounded back, folded over your legs. You might feel it in your spine, you might feel it in your hips. And sometimes even though like I have the mobility to go down and bring my head down to my feet, but I even like sometimes to put a block on my feet or in front of. I like it on because the pressure feels nice on the head on the block, because just kind of like I was saying before, you do it a little differently and you can access different parts of your spine when you change it up a little bit like that. So finding where your spine needs the work. I was listening to Roshi Joan Halifax today, talking about the lotus and the mud, which, we've all heard it before, about how the lotus grows in the mud and, emerges from the water, beautiful, unmuddied, perfect. She said it in such a beautiful way. She said the lotus isn't separate from the lotus roots, which are deep in decay in the mud. You can't separate them. She said, we live in the mud, but we don't want the mud to disable us. We want it to be nourishment to awaken us. We don't want to stay in the mud, but we want to let our roots draw nourishment from the mud that helps us bloom. Mud is part of the beauty too. Inhale, inner body bright. Exhale, outer body soft. Checking in one more time, look around. What's contracted? What's dry? What's sharp? Encouraging all muscle to let go of bone, all bones to exhale. Big bone deep, bone marrow sigh. Breathing in, feel it in your heart. Breathing out, lower body softens and gets heavier. You can transition to a caterpillar for these last few moments if you like, or you can stay in the butterfly for caterpillar. You'll close your legs together and fold over your long legs. There's something I love about that transition because you can really feel like your knees, I don't know, for me anyway, my knees feel really alive in the caterpillar after the butterfly. Some tingling, some sensation. And if it doesn't feel good, then go back to butterfly. Quiet yourself again. Bring some attention to your hands, hands soft and heavy like paperweights. Ankles and feet nice and easy, no tension in the legs. As we move into winter, these qualities that we cultivate here become more important, I think. Right? Receptivity, patience, slowness. Really lovely to have this practice in the winter. Take another breath in, let it all the way out. Follow the exhale all the way to the bottom. And we're going to rest after this. So if you're still curious and enjoying this shape, take another breath or 2 or 5 or 10. And at some point, give your body some space and time to rest. You could lie back or any which way you like to rest. Yeah, if you need any counter poses, take some time. Resting. Now we really become compost. Being there for the transformation that happens when you let the pose go. Just letting everything tingle and dissipate. Feeling the space around you. Just notice clothes that touch your skin, the air that touches your skin, the earth underneath you. Rivers of energy moving inside even when you're so still and quiet. Let those rivers start to move a little stronger. You can wiggle and stretch. Wake up your electric body again. You can feel it maybe even as you start to move, like the electricity is coming back into your joints, tissues, bones. No rush, but come on up to sit when you're ready. Or, stay longer if you want to. You definitely don't need to come sit. I will come sit. If you want to join me, you can. And I will do one round of that breathing if you want to join in. You can even do it on your back if you want. It's just an inhale, float the arms open, and no rush. Take your time. Inhale, opening hands. Exhale, and slowly come together. And inhale into your lotus flower. And when you exhale, you close it and spin it. Keep your hands in a lotus or in a prayer, or put them anywhere on your body. Chant one Om, you can join. Om. Thank you, fellow compost heaps.